Of a late start here for our TST Roundtable on November 29th, 2012. Our guest speaker did not appear. We were supposed to have Jay Horak from Auto Ingenuity. Not sure what happened. He had confirmed with us that he was coming on. We were going to speak about his scan tool, but perhaps you want to speak about our TST scan tool shootout on the BMW.
BMW shootout.
And we're going to touch on some of that and a few other problems. We apologize for all the problems that we were having tonight. You know, here we have two different internet services. We have Verizon Fios and we have Comcast high speed. We don't know what was causing the static. You know, with all the problems in the New York City area after the storm, who knows?
Or it might have been a Microsoft moment. You know, we've all had those.
We've tried rebooting, and it's a new computer. We've tried everything, and I'm not sure what fixed it.
I think it was some kind of a software issue within Microsoft, within the operating system.
So if you could tell us right now, if you could hear us well, Doreen is behind the camera, that our sound is good. We know someone like Alan Boggs is down there in Louisiana. He's going to head out to that Saints game. Go Saints. And can't say that about our Jets. You know, forget it. The Giants are good, but not the Jets. Anyway, so let's talk about some cars here. Any questions on our BMW scan tool shootout? Because, you know, we did test quite a few different scan tools against the OE. And we had a few scan tools surprisingly not cover what we thought they would cover.
Now the other thing is, tonight we tried to hook up the same car again, and we had a problem with a USB cable. So sometimes something really dumb, like a cable that's been yanked too many times, is just intermittent enough where you think it's working and it's not. And that can lead your way down the yellow brick road.
Have spares. And the same thing happened to me.
Yeah.
So,
and by the way, you know, since we had a spare cable that Rich had, we made sure we used this PC-based scan tool, but it did come up with the exact same results as we had when we did the shootout.
The first, right.
There was really no difference. It didn't connect to one module. But with that being said, Jay Horak is not here to speak for his company and his tool. Auto Ingenuity is a good tool. And one of the questions I wanted to ask him was, I know he has these new updates out there. He just came out with a whole bunch of new updates, and perhaps he'll come on down the road. We invited all of the different scan tool manufacturers that we had in our video to actually come on, because some of you guys said, hey, how come the scan tool shootout is so short? Well, let's see. We filmed that thing at about 11:15. I think by the time we were done.
Though I think we were here at 4 or something like
exactly.
that.
All connecting the different tools to the cars, starting with the BMW ISIS system, the factory tool, and going down. And as we check scan tools out, we're not here to sell any particular tool or knock any particular tool. We just put the tool on and see what happens. Now that being said, since Jay is not here to talk about his tool, I did want to ask him a question about Mode 6 being updated. Last night, or the night before, I was doing a class up in Massachusetts, and Rusty Savignac, who's a sharp dude, he has Auto Ingenuity and likes it. And I made a statement that there are only 3 scan tools on the market that update Mode 6 continuously. And that would be the eScan, or AKA Bernie tool. That would be Ease, Stephen Galinsky's tool, and that would be OTC. Now, I did notice after this last update, I think Rusty is absolutely right, but I'm not 100% sure, is if I press the refresh button, the refresh button on Auto Ingenuity, does that give me a refresh of Mode 6 data if the vehicle is testing for it at that time? So I don't know that for a fact. I'd have to play with it. But that's something. Jay is a real sharp dude, like I said. You know, he's the guy who put the tool together. I believe he's a software engineer. And hopefully we'll get them back on to answer those questions. So now with that being said, and the holiday season upon us, and today was one of those bad days for me technically. We have
Not just the computer tonight.
we've had this issue, and we do want to warn some of you guys. Coming up in the second week of December, we usually have our TST week, but our guest speaker had an emergency where he will not be able to come out. So we will not be having the 10 top DTCs, and of course we simulcast that 3.5-hour seminar as well. That will not be available on that Thursday, the 14th or 15th of the month. So we apologize. We'll probably do something in January, and definitely have a roundtable where we'll set up a few other people from scan tool companies or whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, speaking of which, before we go too much deeper, any questions you have or any subjects you want to talk about, type them in now so we can go through them.
Yeah. One of the things I want to bring up, our friends at Motor Age. Motor Age, we just did a webcast with them on fuel pumps. And, you know, here's their magazine. And we have a TST column in here, which is pretty neat. A few people have emailed me. I know it's here somewhere in the back. There was one here we did on a lean code, and every month we have a different column. So here's knocking fuel trim out of the park that we have in this month's, the November 2012 issue. And a lot of these things, I mean, this is one that I actually did, but there are many of them that are contributed from different people. We had Ed Hazard, who sits here, give us some information. If you give us decent information, you know, like the year, make, model of the car, and a picture, we can make a nice article out of it and put it in Motor Age magazine.
And don't worry about editing it yourself. You know,
we'll do it for you.
If you're a little rusty on that or not so sure of it, we'll smooth it out.
Just give us the facts.
Yes.
And obviously give us your name, and if you're Mr. ASE certified or whatever the case may be, we'll be more than glad to put that in there. So you'll be published. That's probably my car
Oh, with you?
beeping against hitting the chair. Any questions?
Well, Al said he was hoping that the BMW shootout would have been tested on an old 06 and newer, especially the 3 Series.
CIP cars.
Those,
Well,
yeah, those are the ones seen in the shop.
we
Now,
had that
explain that.
discussion.
You gotta go over her question.
The question or the comment from Al was he had hoped that we would have done the shootout on an 06 or newer BMW because that's what he's seeing. And we had that discussion, and we couldn't do both. What you're talking about there, Al, is the newer cars are what's called CIP, Coding Individualization and Programming. It's the new scheme that all the BMWs are today. The car that we did have was the old scheme. And due to time constraints, really, I guess we'd have to do another new BMW scan or newer BMW scan tool shootout to do that, because each one of those can take the whole time of a scan tool shootout, and CIP takes a lot longer to go through than the old system where you simply scanned the car and basically looked at each module in turn or had them all come up on a display. Under CIP, you ask in the old system, the computer, the scan tool looks at the car and says, DME, are you there? And so forth. It goes down the line of all the possible computers. In CIP, the scan tool says, car, who's on board? And the car comes back, I'm generalizing this, and the car comes back and tells the scan tool what modules are there, software levels, and so forth. Then it has to go access a database to figure out what needs to be updated or what needs to be done. So it's a little more interactive, and it takes quite a bit longer to do.
But with that being said, Pierre, I think
it's
he
in the
asked,
future, I think.
I think he asked why. Well, we had done a newer BMW a few years back. That was a late model at the time, a 2008 or so,
Right.
I think at the time, when we did our last shootout. One of the things we heard from a lot of people, Al, is the cars that we were hooking up on the scan tool shootout were too new for many shops. You know, the average age of the car on the road is 11 years old. Now, that doesn't mean here in the New York metropolitan area that we see cars that old, but we have people on all over the world, never mind all over the United States. So we take that into account, and you know, we hope to maybe address your problem with the COP car in the near future. But we have other car companies to test, like Mercedes and Audis, you know, because the #1 selling luxury car is now Mercedes-Benz, followed by BMW and Audi. So, you know, we're looking to try to help and give you information on what tools you may want to use to diagnose a car. So hopefully that answers your question. You know, like Pierre said, it's more involved, but the main answer to your question, why did we do it? We went by feedback we got last time. They said, hey, you're doing cars that are too new. So I guess it goes to show you can't please everyone.
Yeah, that's right.
But we're trying to please you.
And you know something, in the future, I think we'll do it with the newer cars again. You know, in some year or whatever, a year or two, whatever, enough of the newer cars will be going into the shops where it'll be a good subject again.
He says thanks.
Any other questions? No? Okay, so what other things do you want to yak about?
I'm all diesel lately, so.
Talk about some
Talk
diesel
about
stuff.
diesels.
Injectors, quality of fuel, make sure it's, you check where you're buying your fuel from, don't buy from most fast places, make sure the C10 levels are up. I mean, there's all kinds of issues with diesel fuel, not bacteria in it. I'm seeing a lot of injector failures, a lot of O-ring failures. You just gotta keep up on them and maintain them properly.
I had this, and I'm not even working there anymore, but I had this discussion at Volkswagen last year. What the tech people told me, I had said to everybody, you know the top tier fuel for gasoline? Use those stations, at least you have a pretty good assurance that the quality's high. They said to me, that's half what you need. They also said, go to the high volume stations. Bacteria, things growing in the microbes growing in the fuel. You don't want the station that doesn't move the fuel.
Correct, especially with diesel. I mean, that's
Yeah.
something you with generators.
So I think, yes, so I think the answer is both. Use a name brand fuel and go to a high volume station.
And a newer gas station.
And a newer station without old tanks that have
Yes.
stuff in them.
Well,
Right.
the diesel doesn't treat the tanking.
And I think we all
Right.
know that a newer station, when they build these stations, you gotta be pumping over 100,000 gallons of gas or more, or fuel, I should say.
Yeah.
So going to a newer, bigger station is gonna help you out.
Yes.
Let's ask some of you guys out there, what do you think about, you know, we're putting stuff together for our big event. Our big event is out in New York here in the month of March. We have John Thornton coming out as our guest speaker. We also have Dave DeCourcy as one of our speakers. And our buddy Pete Meyer will probably be our keynote speaker again. We always twist his arm one way or another to get him out. At any rate, what do you think about a topic on, what was Dave's, the name of it?
Misfire, hold on,
You have the paper somewhere.
I have the paper right here.
So this, what
Misfire
better?
strategies, I think.
It was, yes, it was Misfire Strategies.
And this is a little different than just checking ignition, huh?
Yes.
So what's your thoughts out there on misfire strategies? Obviously, you can look at mode 6, you can use pressure transducers. There's a lot of different ways of looking at it. Would this be subject matter that you'd be interested in? And the next question is, how many of you out there are actually having problems with direct injection gasoline, GDI? So let's see, Doreen, do we have any responses back from anyone?
For that, no.
From anything, any comments?
Yes. This gentleman, he's been seeing a lot of closing summary posts on IATN lately where customers are not fixing problems once a tech has spent time to find out the problem.
That's why you have to charge for diagnostics.
That's right.
I seem
Now,
to
they may
be
not be able to
running
hear us,
into-
so we gotta
No,
repeat it.
yeah.
I seem to be running into a lot of this
Okay,
myself lately. with
so
the economy.
basically, he's saying, he sees these posts on IATN as well as he's coming across
Right.
where a customer is, you know, being told they need XYZ for their vehicle, but they're not doing it. Well, no big surprise. I think our economy, again, going back to that 11-year age vehicle, we like when the cars are older. Why? Because people usually fix them. But I
Or they
think,
did.
or they did, but I think with the economy the way it is, people don't have the money to spend. A lot of people in this area lost jobs. I can tell you by driving on the roads. I do a lot of driving. And the roads don't have the traffic, the rush hour traffic that they used to have.
A lot of empty stores with for rent, for sale signs on them.
All over the place.
Yeah.
And Bear was saying just earlier today, Bear, why don't you just go and tell us what happened to that one customer that came in with a couple $100,000 on his
You
car?
know, we had two cars today. I think it's what the fellow's referring to. I mean, he had no problem paying for the diagnosis fee. That wasn't the problem, but I mean, the repairs that it needed, you know, would have been a good work for the shop and profitable. But the car had 200,000 on it, and he was to the point where he was to the end of the line with that car. And, you know, it seems like whether they lease them or buy a new, we just keep getting a, you know, that keeps repeating itself where they're you know,
Not spending money.
they're not spending the money, not because.
They're choking.
Well, they're doing this, they have multiple cars, they may not need to use them as much as they did, they'll get by, they'll limp the other one along. And you know, it seems like the other fellow was saying, it seems to be, you know, repeating itself far too frequently to you know, to get profitable jobs into the shop. You know,
Yeah.
two of them today, and they were not new customers, they were known customers, had spent money on the cars previously, and it just got to that point. So I can feel for the guy and understand, I don't have an answer.
Yeah, no, I think the only answer is getting people back to work. You know, maybe getting some manufacturing jobs here, but hey, we just went through a big campaign, so let's not even go there.
Ask him if the volume's up.
How's the sound now? We made another volume adjustment. So hopefully that is good for you now. What other stuff?
Better.
Good, okay.
That's better?
What other
Okay.
problems are you guys seeing out there? Are you having any particular problems with, besides customers paying? You know, let's throw another question out there. Oh, you got a question?
Yes, I've seen direct injection turbo cars with failed injectors.
Okay. So someone's seen GDIs with failed injectors?
Question is, would a course that helped you diagnose those systems be valuable to you?
Yeah, and maybe
Yeah.
you can just
And what did
answer
they
us back.
find? What did they find as a cause, or the actual problem with the injector?
Right.
Was it due to possibly
Contaminate
overheating,
or
contamination?
Contamination.
What?
Well, what I've seen in most direct injection problems wasn't even the injector causing the problem, it was the airflow, the volumetric efficiency of the valve train. They get carbon buildup in the vacuum so bad that they can't even breathe. You can't, you take a scope down and you can't even see,
We saw a lot of that at Volkswagen.
I mean, bad.
We were taking intakes off all the time to clean those out. And sometimes the intakes were broken because it would choke up that flapper for the variable
And that's
runner.
common on
And it
us.
would snap the shaft, so some were moving and some weren't.
I've seen that too as well.
And cleaning it out with like a little lollipop stick or ice cream stick, getting a lot of that carbon out. It's a different type of carbon.
Yeah, it's
It's,
really
you know,
gooey.
spongy.
It's a
gooey.
spongy, gooey type of thing. I know Craig has had a few of them here.
That's why the foggers just going in, fogging from the outside of the intake, don't seem to do it.
No, you
It's
actually,
not that effective.
No.
I've done a couple where I've closed the valve train off, let them soak overnight with my own kind of chemistry, and let them sit. And
We don't want to know too much about
Is
that.
that homemade distilled stuff or what?
Yeah, that's good. It works, that's all I know.
What type of mileage are you seeing that in there?
30,000 plus, that's it. Up to 30,000, you better start servicing.
Yep.
But you even notice I have a 3.6 in a CTS all-wheel drive, and I noticed when the vehicle got about 4,000 miles on it, you could feel some shakiness in the motor where before you didn't feel it, and that's from some buildup.
And breathing
You know,
problems.
if GM themselves, when I brought it in for an oil change, they put a bottle of GM fuel cleaner in the tank.
Yeah.
Because even though we know the molecules, the injector's not spraying behind a valve, what's happening is we're directly injecting it into the cylinder, correct?
Yes.
But the molecules of fuel keep going all around. The cleaner in it will help break down some of that buildup. It's not as good, obviously, as taking a manifold out and actually cleaning it up, but it's somewhat helpful. I could feel a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, anything's better than nothing, right? But a lot of it, I think Peter's gonna agree with this, it's gonna be PCV systems or what quality oil. it
Yeah,
is.
what I was told kind of shortly before I left was that it wasn't here yet, but they were working on an engineering solution where they were going to use some type of new cyclone filter, oil vapor separator, something for the PCV to make sure that only really clean air got to the intake valves. Because apparently the problem is PCV vapors getting coked up or choked up or semi-burnt or whatever on the back of the intake valves, and there's no fuel washing them off, and that's what builds up these deposits.
Yeah,
And isn't it funny? They always said the problem was spraying behind the valve
yeah.
made a bunch of buildup.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So-
eventually they fixed that with
Yeah.
detergency in the gasoline. Now it turns out that was only partially true.
Right.
So is anybody interested in the class of GDI?
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's what we're
Because
thinking of doing.
I'm seeing a lot of it, and it's very profitable if you know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is, let's put out there, what new tool have you purchased recently that you really like, that's helpful?
Or what tool are you looking at or thinking about? What type of tool or special brand, anything, any detail that you want to talk about.
Sure.
One of us might have experience. Certainly we can, even if we don't know, we can kick the can down the road and find out about it for next time.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yep.
In fact, we have one of our TST members that used to work right in Connecticut, come to our TST chapter in Connecticut, now lives out in Colorado, sent us a real nice email that we will be discussing. We didn't really look into it deep. Perhaps some of you heard Pierre reading some of it
Part of it.
earlier on when we were trying to get the sound right.
And you know what, I'll give you a quick synopsis of this. Basically, he worked for a green company some company was selling green, and they were advocating a special 2-micron oil filter, their own blend of synthetic, semi-synthetic oil, and here was the kicker. 7,500 miles, the car came back for just an oil filter change. Another 7,500, another oil filter change, and only after 21,500 miles did the car come back for an oil and filter change. And we only got this email today. We haven't had a chance to look into it, so we decided not to really get into this tonight. But here's the email right here.
But perhaps,
And maybe next time we'll talk about it. But any ideas you have, certainly are welcome.
yeah, and perhaps we can get the guys from Fram on. Fram had flown me out, I guess, about a month or so ago, and I wasn't a big Fram guy. But I gotta tell you, after looking at their research facility, Fram makes OE filters for Honda, AC Delco, GM filters, Mack trucks, Volvo, Subaru. They make the OE filters for them. And the Fram filter is actually better than the stuff they make for those manufacturers. Also K&N. If you're like me, you were into FRC frickin' race cars. Well, K&Ns were a damn good filter, and they actually make them. So perhaps they said they would be interested in coming on a roundtable.
Sounds like good.
That we
good
could
thing.
get them on. I can contact them, especially now we're gonna have a little spare time with our instructor not being able to come out in December. We will, kind of make it up to you and give you some of these free roundtables and maybe even do something hands-on on a vehicle. What would you like to see? That's the type of stuff we
Yeah.
need to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for so many years, seminars, live classes. We want to know what you would like to see out there that helps us help you.
And part of that is not only kind of what's on your wish list, but what are you seeing in your shop that either kicks your butt or maybe you're just not making enough money on it. And maybe it's just, or your procedure's not efficient, or, sometimes it's not a total failure. Sometimes it's, this could be better.
Right. And every time I teach a class, I always tell people, you need a game plan. And it seems like people don't have game plans. And no team goes out, whether it be football, baseball, whatever, no coach or no manager goes out without a game plan. When you work on a vehicle, you need a game plan. What are you going to be looking at? Where are you going to go? Some people get on a vehicle and they just get lost. It's like driving down the road without directions or a map.
Or even knowing the rules of the road.
There's a lot of those people.
Yeah.
Comments or questions?
Well, the Genesis Touch Mini Ductor, getting back to the tools.
Ah,
The
yeah.
Genesis Touch
I don't know about
Mini
that.
Ductor.
They make a mini ductor?
Do they make? That must be something new that they're doing.
Well, mini ductors are great.
Or is he asking about two different tools, the Mini Ductor and the Genesis Touch, the new scan tool?
Yeah, unless Mini Ductor's a great, great tool. Mini Ductor's a heating device that we have, and I think it's a phenomenal tool.
I use it all the time.
It
works
avoids the
real well.
need to put a flame in places where you really
Don't
maybe don't
want
feel
one.
too good about putting a flame in there.
OTC, let's talk about this. OTC has a brand new scan tool they're coming out with,
I saw that.
and it's a tablet base, and they're really doing a nice job on it. In fact, we'll have one here soon. It's called the Genesis Touch. Maybe that's what the guy was referring to.
That's what I thought he was talking
Oh,
about, two different things.
Now, we're real happy to say that on this tool, they have, when a DTC comes up, they actually have it go to their Pathfinder. For you guys that are not familiar with Pathfinder, you're familiar with Snap-on terminology? Pathfinder is the troubleshooter like Snap-on, and they do a good job. They also have built-in Identifix. If you have a Identifix account, you don't need another account. You got the tool, you now can get Identifix information right from there.
So this is wirelessly networked, and it updates real easy on its own, right? It's a very
Very
fast
fast
update
update.
on boot up type of thing.
They have, they lock you out from some websites because they don't want some guys getting viruses on there, and we know that happens. So what they give you for websites is Mitchell, AllData, Identifix, IATN, NASTAF, that's the National Automotive Task Force with all the OE sites, and we're happy to say, to our surprise,
Us.
TST seminars. And because,
Wow.
and it's amazing, maybe some of you guys don't even know that, because I said, wow, I didn't even know that. They have looked at our video. We have been paid by OTC in the past to do a webcast for them, not to be biased. We've knocked their tool down sometimes, and we've praised their tool at other times. But I gotta say, we're impressed because we do have a lot of different videos out there, in case you haven't looked at our YouTube channel, where you can view them if you got a little bit of a brain fart. You know, we got thousands upon thousands of views, 105 or 6 videos out there now that you can look at, and many more to come. We'll be doing some short clips, and that's some of the stuff we gotta do
Is it reasonably
relatively
priced?
soon.
Is it reasonably priced? Do you know the pricing?
This?
Yeah.
YouTube is,
This, I think, is about $3,000 or so.
and the YouTube on that's just YouTube.
Yeah, just free.
Yeah.
By the way, we will be doing some little short things, little clips on how to test like a map sensor, mass air sensor, where you'll get just-in-time training. You know, we do this, here's 4 of us here tonight, or yeah, 5 of us actually, someone behind. Not getting paid, just, you know, doing this to help other people. So we always appreciate, we get a lot of people, our buddies from Australia, we get people from the Mideast, we get people from all over the place. You know, if you could sign up for membership, that really helps us out. Because, you know, it costs money to do all this stuff. So we want to give you quality stuff, and the big thing, like I said earlier, what do you want to see? We need your ideas and your input. Other questions or comments?
I'm thinking of buying a Power Probe hook.
I got one.
Do you think it's worth the extra money?
Yes, it is.
Well, here I don't have one, but here's what I'll tell you about the Power Probe hook. And Jeff said he is coming on. The Power Probe hook is really nice because he does calculations of what the current draw is. And that is pretty damn nice.
Does its own ohms law internally.
Yeah. which is really neat. At first, I wasn't sure how it would have worked, but speaking to Jeff, he's done a very good job on the tool.
Now,
So-
that said, for you guys who don't keep up on your electrical training, you have to have a good idea of what the current draw is supposed to be in a circuit,
For sure.
or it's not gonna help you.
Well, I'll give you an example, Pierre. Funny you bring that up. I asked someone, what do you think an EGR valve, this was just in a class I did recently, how much amperage do you think an EGR valve would pull? And I got answers like 5 amps, 6 amps, 2 amps, and someone that hit it on the head somewhere about an amp. 5, 6 amps. I said, what type of wires would you need if you had 5, 6 amps?
Big.
Now, no one is stupid. Let's put that right out there. This is a hard business we're in. But if you don't stay update, you're gonna be evaporating very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And something like electricity that is so important in every aspect of the vehicle, you really gotta understand this. We have plenty of little videos we've done in the past on using the power probe and an amp clamp, using your meter and an amp clamp, using the scope and an amp clamp. Go take a look at them so we can help it out. And power probe is one of my must-have tools. That's what I would say.
I love the power probe.
Yes.
Comments, questions?
What about the short buddy tech scope?
I
Short
don't
buddy.
know that, I don't know that tool.
I'm not for
I
sure.
don't know.
I've heard of it, but,
Uh,
I'm trying to think.
The short buddy? The
Short
little
buddy.
little.
Who
That's-
makes it? Or they
Oh,
talk about
yes,
scan
it's,
tool.
it's not, I don't think it's a scope, I think it's a, the
It-
short buddy goes into where the fuse
Fuse
goes.
Yeah, it just tells you how many amps it's drawing.
And tells you how many amps it draws.
Yeah, now that's pretty neat, but that's only, one of those clip, I think that was, the company out of Canada makes those little amp clamps with the reading on them. For a quick check of current draw, like you don't need to current ramp an evap solenoid or something, you just wanna see the current draw?
Right.
You wanna see a current draw of a light bulb, you just click it on, it has the read meter right on the end, great tool.
Now,
Yeah.
that said, you have to know what's on that circuit, what's going on and what's off. You have
Ah.
to understand, again, kind of
So,
the basics.
so
and
here, they could have more than one thing on there?
there just might be more than one thing on that circuit. So if you know that there's one thing you're going to turn off and on again, and you can see the difference, then you'll understand what the current draw is on that. Otherwise, you better really have that wiring diagram and know what's on and what's not.
You could also isolate the circuit and take it out and then use a power probe.
Right.
Yeah, but you remember, you also have to, on those things, you also have to pull the fuse out of the circuit, because it goes in where the fuse goes.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like
And
the
sometimes if you have
fuse
some kind of
button.
an intermittent power draw or overcurrent situation, you might pull the fuse and get rid of the problem.
Oh, so in other words,
Rich talked about this in his seminar, actually.
you fixed it because there was a voltage drop there.
Yeah,
And
right.
you made the connection good, didn't you?
Yeah, it could be that, or it could be something logic that turns off and
Latching
doesn't
logic.
malfunction again. Latching logic.
Latching logic, that's
Now,
correct.
Rich, you see find a lot of those with your camera
With the thermal imaging,
at the fuse panel?
not at at the fuse panel, you'll never see the heat at the fuse panel unless you have an overload.
But you see the device that's getting warm.
Yes, whatever's getting warm with the
Now,
thermal imager.
the issue with that is, of course, these things can sometimes be hidden, so sometimes you have to kind of guess where it is and take a cover panel or take something
Absolutely.
apart and, kind of preset the test conditions so you'll see what's hot and what's not.
And speaking of thermal imaging, Tony Martin, who writes for Motor Age magazine, will be giving him some help, Pete Meyer and myself, on using thermal imaging. He's writing a whole article on this, I believe for the June 2013 issue. General tools that we spoke about in the past and gave them an award. And by the way, our awards on tools will be coming up for 2013. The TST Technician
10
top.
top
Top-
tool award or something, whatever
Yeah.
we call it.
we can't remember because we're too tired. But
Beating our heads against computer problems.
they won, I think it was last year, and their thermal imager can come in very, very handy if it has a wider range of temperature, especially when we're looking at like a catalytic converter. Because most of these have a limit of about 500-600 degrees.
That's correct.
So they're going up to 2,000 degrees, which is quite helpful. Next comment or question?
This gentleman says when he works on a VW or BMW, etc., he spends more time researching all the data to see if the system works. than working on the vehicle. Maybe,
Yes,
maybe,
that's
maybe you
true.
could give a class on European.
The
Makes.
comment is that somebody says that they spend more time doing the research than actually working on the car, on VW and BMW. European, we need a class on European for that. That is absolutely true, and you have to be able to charge for that time, because that's part of the job.
If you have Rostec, they have the site Wiki.
Rostec Wiki.
Wiki.
Right,
And it
right.
definitely guides
Very,
you.
very good.
It guides you in a very good direction of what the causes might be.
In BMW, if
But
you
if-
end up on the website, you should look at their training. Or they have different training subjects, ST something, they're all numbers, it's a little cryptic. You can download them, they are PDFs, so you pay for 1 day for some other purpose.
Drink a lot of Mountain Dew.
No, well, not just that, you can download them all to your computer and then read them at your leisure when you're not paying for the subscription, because you have the right to download them.
Right,
And
for your
you-
personal
For your
use.
personal use, not for replication. And those training PDFs are often the only source on system strategy or layout or really how the stuff works. Stuff that you would think would be in a repair manual, but it's only in a training PDF.
So that you couldn't click on the code and get to the.
It's not linked, it's not hyperlinked
Hyperlinked,
like
that'd
that.
be very
No,
nice.
So-
that would be nice.
You know, so gentlemen, what I hear here is, this guy's looking for some stuff, well,
And we,
we're gonna simulcast that, Volkswagen one, or perhaps you wanna take a trip out to New York, and it's on the 20-something of the
The
month, or
last-
TST.
maybe not
big
the
event.
last weekend, maybe might be the weekend before the
I think
last
it's
week.
like the
It's the end of March, yeah.
7th or something. And you can always check our website for that. So European training is something you're gonna need, at least on the West Coast, the East Coast, Texas, the Southwest area.
Atlanta
Uh,
area, any
Yeah,
place that's bigger
there's
to the
a
European
lot
cars.
of European cars, a lot. Maybe in the middle of the country
And
there's
again,
not,
they're
but
using GDI, TDI.
Yeah.
It's everything I now.
Right,
it's I.
and they're all, and they're all DIN specs, so you, part of that is learning how to read DIN spec wiring diagrams, kinda how they think, you know, it's their standard.
Track
And
diagrams.
it's very, very dangerous. And I don't mean dangerous. You're gonna be spending, as he said, a lot of time.
Yeah,
Next-
once you're
next
used to
comment.
it, you got it.
The Easy Red Cornwell Ready, a really long 1/4-inch, I guess, ratchet on one end and a 1/4 bit on the other end. He said saved him on a Chevy door motor on a 1993
He's talking about the
C10.
long tool.
Oh,
He said it's a
Easy-
great tool.
Yeah.
That's basically
By the way,
what he said.
Easy Red, I've done some webcasts with their products and own a few of their products. They make some nice stuff. Easy Red, a company right here in New York State.
They don't just make wrenches, they make a bunch of different stuff.
A lot of different things.
Oh, yeah. They also have for the clutches on the alternators, they have a whole
Yeah,
kit.
for the overrunning.
And I have all the overrunning clutches.
Spline
He's-
things, right.
He says it has a flex head
Yeah.
on both
Yeah.
ends
Yeah.
as well.
In
Yeah.
I got
fact, you
the
know
tool.
what? I
Works.
think I even have them.
It's a very
I have a
long.
few of them. It's a very
That's what he
long
said.
one, yeah. That's a good setup, yeah.
Yeah.
Good call there. Very good. What are you guys thinking about, what's your favorite scan tool out there?
And what do you work on predominantly with it?
Yeah, is it a domestic car, an Asian car?
Well, while we're waiting, I'd like, for GM's, like, hands down the Tech 2.
This guy-
For myself.
He says Mini Ductor 2 rocks.
Yeah.
Mini
Yeah.
Ductor 2
Mini
does
Ductor.
rock.
Yeah.
I had
And
a
you know
one.
what? I know the owners of the company, they're really nice people. We just had one of our TST members that had his used it, Rick O'Neill, used the daylights out of it, contacted the company, they took care of it. Same thing, a big plug for my buddy Phil Trigiani and Tony Ferrara from UView. Our TST member Rupert had one of their great little lights,
I need to get one.
and he broke the charger.
The charger, it wasn't the light itself.
They sent another charger out for him. In fact, I got it for him. So, you know, they stand behind their product. Really, really good product. By the way, nice and bright. That light works on a lot of different dye spectrums, because when you use dye, there's lights that only work on certain dyes. This light is a little flashlight.
Broad
that's set up.
spectrum.
Broad spectrum, works really good. So, you know, like Bear was saying, the Tech 2, well, now they have Tech to Win. Our buddies at Drew Tech but maybe they're even in this magazine. Our buddies at Drew Tech have done a great thing with a mongoose cable, and that mongoose cable does a really nice job. We beta tested stuff here, and I gotta tell you, I like that better than my MDI. The MDI is a clunky box that you gotta drag around. The mongoose cable goes right in. Now, you don't have every single function of the Tech 2,
Right.
but you have just about everything.
Through the internet.
Right through it on
It's
an
a,
internet.
it's a pass-through tool.
$55, 3 days use, just like Toyota. You can't go wrong. Do you need to use it every day? No. My personal opinion is you should probably have either a snap-on or better yet an OTC, because bang for the buck. You can do all the cars, and both of those tool companies are strong because of Troubleshooter or Pathfinder. You need at least one of those tools in your shop for when you have a brain fart. A question I always ask, and let's see if some of you can get the answer out there. If I have a map sensor GM vehicle, because this goes across the board on a lot of things, and I have 5 volts key on engine off, I turn the engine, key on engine running, what should my voltage reading be at sea level, okay, on a good running motor with 18 to 20 inches of vacuum?
Map sensor.
Map sensor, voltage, 18 to 20 inches of vacuum. So let's see if you come back with that, and we'll go over that answer in a minute.
And that said, you know, we generated, it brought to mind, at TST, we generated a bunch of hands-on electrical tests. Now, you can't do this online. This would have to be in person. And we had a lot of trouble getting people to take the test. In fact, not too many did, and once they did, not a high enough percentage passed, at least at first. That, to my mind, says we need better training on electrical. And it's very hard to sell a seminar on certainly basic electrical, because after all, we're all experts. We don't need basics, right?
Right.
Well, you know something? Even if you did know it all at one time, if you're like me with more than a couple of gray hairs, you might forget a thing or two, and it's a good idea to go back and get a refresher course.
Absolutely.
And you wouldn't believe all the things you forgot. You know that old line somebody probably told you when you were young, I've forgotten more things than you've ever known? Well, now I've gotten to the point where I have.
You know, on another note, right in this magazine, sometimes that's why we keep them around here, we have an article on Moto Logic. Now, Pierre, you remember beta testing that stuff.
I do, absolutely.
And you now can get OE information with a one-click type of, almost like a Google search engine, where you can get OE information for GM, Ford, Chrysler, Toyota, Nissan, Honda, Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen, Audi right now. Get factory information on an easy lookup.
And they're trying to get everybody in there. But basically, the key word is Google-like search engine. The idea is you type in something that's intuitive to you.
Look at
that you wouldn't necessarily find the information you want in other formats,
You know that.
and it will, I mean, you know, hopefully find what you're looking for. At least it'll give you a choice of options.
Why don't you read that? I didn't even know this. This is God's honest truth. Here's a little quote there. Pierre, why don't you read that? What the quote is.
Well, we won't tell you who said it until the end. MotoLogic is an excellent source for OE information. It's easy to use while providing accurate, helpful dealer information without the hassle of knowing how to navigate different OE sites. Try it, you will like it. G. Truly. And it's in their ad.
And I ain't getting paid for it. It was something I told them. And I really think they do a great job on it.
There you
And
go.
I'm a big, by the way, I'm also a big All Data fan. I love All Data.
Yes, subscription based.
Yeah, this, well, you know, and I'm not a spokesman for the company, but I believe it's like $100 and something a month. I made a suggestion for them, since they don't have a full line right now,
Yeah.
that they should really give the people a cheaper price to start with. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have full coverage, if I don't have BMW,
No, you have to have another site.
Then you gotta have something else
I
as
need
well,
another
right?
site. And
Right.
by the way, you should have All Data, Identifix, maybe Mitchell, You know, when I see the difference in data from all data to Mitchell, I still get stuff on DVDs. Now, you may think I'm wacky, but I love my DVDs. I put it on my terabytes, and I have the information, even if the internet ever hasn't been
Yeah, I
done.
do the same thing.
I like it. I don't mind spending the time. And when I see what All Data has, All Data is 38 DVDs
Yeah.
compared to 13 or 14 on Mitchell. So there's a big difference in information. And one of the things I like about All Data when it's on DVD, I like the layout better than the online version.
Yeah, the only problem is you're not gonna do, this is the last,
This is gonna be the last
the
year.
last one.
I'm sad, because I love the way it works.
I'm sad.
So there's some good stuff there, just
So
look
this is
through
all
the
hyper,
magazine.
in MotoLogic, they're hyperlinked to a picture or.
Hyperlink,
location.
but it's also got a search engine, so if you, click on one thing, it'll come up with a list of related,
That's pretty nice.
It's a nice
You know?
setup, you gotta try it. You can just contact,
I'll do it tomorrow.
what is it, Advanced? Yeah.
it's advanced auto parts.
Advanced Auto Parts, and they'll help you get through it. Doreen, do we have some other questions there? Or comments? Anyone come up with that voltage reading? I know you got a lot to look at.
Oh my God, there's so much.
I'll tell you what I use a lot too as well, just on a note like this.
This guy has a question.
Get
What is the,
questions, we love them.
what is the
Yeah.
best programming J2534 tool for all-around makes and models?
Okay,
And
what's
is it
the best,
profitable?
what's the best J2534 tool for reprogramming?
And is it profitable?
I would say the best tool is DrewTech. And I'd recommend if you're getting into it, now that DrewTech has the M box, the DrewTech M, you're better off, that's a modular type of setup, to spend a little bit more money than the Cardac DrewTech box. Is it profitable? Something is only profitable when you look to see if there is a need for reprogramming. The other thing you're gonna need is basically a battery maintainer or charger.
Clean one.
Clean, associated, if you look at some of our webcasts, and again, they don't pay me to tell you this, Associated makes a very reasonable price battery charger and maintainer, because there's a difference. A lot of the maintainers, like a Fronius, it's very nice for 1600,
Yeah.
right? But it's only a maintainer, it's not a charger. Power Max, an inexpensive one, really nice maintainer, but it ain't a charger. Midtronics, great tool.
Very clean.
The GR8, very clean, but guess what? $3,000.
What about the Snap-on,
Snap-on now has switched. The older Snap-on stuff, there were some issues with, as far as clean
power?
voltage, power. The newer stuff is all made through Midtronic, so it's nice
Because I have
quality.
the newer one, it does do refreshing programming.
Now, that said, I had some experience with the Bomb Tools power supply. That was very good, very clean.
It's not.
And I think it was about $600, but it's not a charger. It is a power supply,
There's a difference. So I said like
not a charger.
Power Max. Now, with that being said, so let's say you buy the associated charger and stuff, about $600 to $800, reasonably priced. It's a charger and a maintainer, so you can use it in the shop. You buy the DrewTech box, it's probably under $2,000. Okay, you need an information source. You got to go to the OE website to download it. If you're charging somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 to $200, because depending where you live is what I heard the price
Okay.
being, you could make money if you're looking for something that needs to be reflashed.
You almost need somebody just on that point.
And the car has to have a symptom.
Yes.
I don't think, and someone slammed me in the past, they took what I said wrong. I'm not saying you gotta reflash every vehicle. I'm saying if you got a symptom and there's something there for reflashing, like P0420. You do it on a Nissan, put a new catalytic converter in, even a dealer cat, and you didn't look that it had a reflash, oh, that brand new cat is gonna come back to you, and you're gonna look kind of silly. So you need to check reflashes.
Read the service bulletins.
Yeah.
Should be in part of that, we're not setting prices, we're setting procedures here. If a car comes in with a symptom, and you have to do research, and you have to get service bulletins, and you have to follow whatever the process is of that service bulletin, that should be part of what you're charging for. That's part of your job. It's not just diagnosing the car in a hands-on fashion. It's gathering information and seeing if the car meets the criteria of that bulletin, because otherwise you might think you fixed it when you actually didn't.
Okay, and we got some other comments here. I'm giving Doreen a hand. It's always good to revisit learned material to keep you grounded.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
no doubt. Very
By the
good.
way, years
very good
ago,
comment.
Jerry called me up when I first went to probably the first class I went to with him, and he sold me on a, what was that, like it was
It's an electric class
It
and
was a
stuff.
basic electric, and I was pretty knowledgeable, but you know, you still pick up a few things, and I
Yeah,
did.
every time.
And not only that, the other point, I reversed a few bad habits I had grown over the years.
What were those?
I'm not talking about it.
Here's someone that has bought a Solus Ultra last December. Very quick boot up. I would agree with that. Has no keys, but global OBD2 doesn't work on all makes. Asked for update, and I guess they got an answer there. Well, sometimes, you know, I would think that Snap-on does a good job overall. I know, Barry, you have one of
I
them.
haven't run into that with mine,
No, I
particular where it wouldn't, not familiar
Wouldn't
with that.
communicate on global, wouldn't, yeah, it should work on everything,
I've
right?
had to look at that.
Okay, here's someone that has a Autel and a red brick and stuff. The Autel, as you can see, did a very good job on our scan tool shootout.
Yeah, actually surprised me.
It surprised us. One of our students actually sent it up from New Jersey. So it wasn't even something that we got from the company. But hey, we're all about trying to give you guys the information on what works. We don't make money on, you know, who does the better thing.
Did you do a lot of activations?
It did, it was very good, actually. It surprised us. It scored much better than we thought it would.
Now saying that, was launch comparable? Did you guys do
Launch
Yes,
was
we did. It was, it was
pretty close. There was one right next to the other, right?
Right, I think.
I don't remember who was ahead, but
No,
I have both.
the
Yeah,
Autel was more intuitive, I
Yeah.
felt.
oh, maybe we voted the Autel ahead because
But
of
the-
intuitive.
Of who?
Of launch. Or was the launch
The
ahead?
launch went ahead.
They were
Very close.
one right next to each other.
They were close, but the launch did, I think, a bit better.
I forget what the reason.
Here's some guy here, this guy Al, and he's talking about a YouTube channel, Scan-A-Danner. But I can tell you from one of our people on our TST channel that Scan-A-Danner, you know, sometimes puts out some nasty or crappy comments, to say the least.
Derogatory.
So someone told me that, you know, don't even pay attention to him. He's a guy that's just trying to throw some negative comments out there. This guy says he's good. I personally don't know, other than the one bad comment he
What-
did post
What
on
does
our
he do?
website.
I'm not
I never heard
familiar.
of it.
What are you talking about?
Well, if you go to our YouTube channel,
Yeah, I know, are you?
most people like us,
Yeah.
you know, to give us the thumbs up. They tell us we're doing a good job. And this guy, Scan-A-Danner, said, I don't know, we sucked or something like that, whatever.
Oh,
And someone said, you know, I tried to say back to him, because I respond to most of them, that, you know, what's the problem? What do you mean we did something? We're not
Yeah,
perfect,
you want your input, so
but
you-
we want your input, but don't just say we suck.
Yeah.
Right.
There got to be a reason why we suck,
That's right.
okay?
Give us specifics.
Give us specific.
like 35-3, now that sucks.
Okay.
At halftime, right? That did, yes.
Self-explanatory.
You can't get your audio straightened out on.
Yes.
Yeah,
that
now,
is a-
now, see,
that
now you
is
can
a-
say we suck at audio tonight.
Now, on a note of selling, like we were talking about, everybody's having problems with selling jobs. I use what you call Virtual MD from CarQuest.
Okay.
It's a really good selling point to a customer if you're having a problem, for them to understand the system. You click on a particular system, brake system for say, and it shows you a virtual display of how the system works, and kind of you put your own problems, like a warped rotor. I'll actually show you how a warped rotor works. And you can send that link to the customer via email or what have you. So it's really good selling.
So you can sell it to them while they're not even in your shop.
You got it. And
Pretty nice.
It is
There you
very
go.
nice.
That's cool.
You know, down the road, you're gonna need all of these,
Tools.
yeah.
different tools, these different, ways of twittering and,
App and-
you know, getting these different apps to help you along.
You
Here's
gotta hire a
someone,
teenager.
Yeah, hire a teenager.
here's someone
Computer
here, well, you know, writing for Motor Age, one of the things that I need to do is get a Facebook account. And like, I need a Facebook account like I need a hole in my head, because I don't have time.
Yeah.
We've been trying to put together, and Doreen and myself have some for TST done, but we really haven't had the time to launch it, because all this stuff takes a lot of time. And, you know, again, we just do this to help people out. So it's not like we're getting paid to do it.
And we're all here on a Thursday night doing this, so.
And we still got our board meeting to do after this in the next 10 minutes or so. We have someone here, Al says Mitchell new user interface is hard to navigate compared to all data. The online stuff, I definitely think is way harder
Yeah, I don't
than
like
they're also. I don't like it.
I don't like
So
the online.
I would agree.
All the, on any of them, either of them. The online isn't as good.
Online is-
Okay, here's someone that says here, I don't think anybody has the depth as Autel MaxiDOS does for the cost versus function. I'm really happy with it overall. Well, you know, we would agree with you that for the money,
Yeah.
street price somewhere 11 to 1,300 bucks. We know some people spent a little more for it. From what we've seen, it looks like it's a good tool, but here's the problem. You know, we have a lot of jobs lost in America, don't we?
Yeah.
This is a foreign product. Some of the big companies, this is one of the things that I had my ears filled with after our scan tool shootout and having to work a week in Las Vegas at Industry Week. Some of the big companies, without naming them specifically,
US.
said to me, you know, hey, gee, those guys are not members of ETI. They're not buying the data off the OEs to put it into the tool. They're stealing the stuff. So that's a conscious decision that you got to kind of put in the back of your head when you're buying something. And we're not just talking about Autel.
Yeah.
This, even, you know, we know there's hot all data in Mitchell out there. Well, hell, that's really bad, because if they get all this stuff stolen all the time off them, then guess what? The few guys that pay are going to either be paying a big amount, or the company's going to go, the hell with this, we're not going to even put it out there. This is another reason, by the way, why they want to go to online, so they can look at your IP address, okay? So, you know, please be careful when you buy something. Think about that if someone was coming in and stealing your customer base. It's basically the same thing. Everyone wants a bargain, but if someone is, you're the victim on the other end, now you don't like the other person getting a bargain, right? So that's something we got to be careful
And
about.
of course, the problem with pirated software is that it could also be out of date.
Here's someone here. He always tries to buy US-made products. They do cost more, and I'm hoping they make a difference. Well, we do think that it somewhat makes a difference, and obviously, you know, not everything that they say is made here in the U.S. is actually made in the
Here.
U.S., but
Right.
we got to do our part to try. You know, after all, we keep America running, technicians. Without us, it would really be a big mess out there. So sometimes we don't get the gratitude or the nice pat on the back. Myself and some of the guys here, we're a little more fortunate where, you know, maybe someone sees Bear or Eric or Pierre or Rich or myself, and the same amount of money is going to buy us that cup of coffee. You know, you get your 5 minutes of fame. We're going to offer you your 5 or 10 minutes of fame when you send us in some good articles that we will get you published in Motor Age, as we said. So if you have something, just send them to our TST website, put your name on it. You'll get full credit. No one's going to steal your info. And you help a lot of people out. Okay? We're going to kind of wrap this up unless you guys have other questions or comments. We apologize about tonight's problem. We also apologize for Jay Horak not being on. because we really did want to speak to him about the auto ingenuity. So look for us in possibly the next week or two. We'll do another webcast. I will contact a few other people. I can see if I can get someone from Fram on. I will contact OTC or OTC can't do it now. That's right. They're on a big.
What
a
about
big.
Power Pro, Jeff?
Jeff said he's going to wait just a little bit to come on because he is also swamped. But possibly the launch guys will come on. MotoLogic is set to come on as well. So we have some other neat things, and again, we need your input. Okay, so we thank you guys for your time, and I'll get on the other side of the camera and say we're going to be signing off till next week. And in case we don't see you in the next week or our next webcast, look for our emails. You should be getting them. You and your family have a very Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy whatever applies.
Happy New Year after that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, we'll have a couple more things going on.
Right, in the meantime. And,
Yep, one thing, quick, on that OTC Touch, I believe it comes with a 60-day subscription to Identifix.
Oh. And I know if
read
you
that,
already,
60 for a trial.
yeah,
If you don't have, if you don't have it.
if you don't have it.
It comes with a 60 day.
And if you have Identifix, it just works right on it.
You
Just
can use your
username.
username and you're ready to roll.
So once again, thank you, and have a great evening.